Leaving a hospital after you deliver a baby and going home empty is just something I was not prepared for.
February of 2022, your son Keaton was born, and first child,
Yes.
right? And what was that like to?
Just the best. You know, everyone is always like, oh, wait until you're a mom or wait until you're a parent. You just don't understand. Yeah. And then, yeah, as soon as you have a kid, it's like your entire world changes. I remember laying in bed with my husband like a week after he was born, and we both were like, do you remember when we didn't have him? And he was like, no, I don't.
A couple of years later, you're preparing to experience that joy again with another birth of another child, um, and things didn't go the way they were supposed to. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I had no reason to believe that I wasn't walking into a normal appointment where we were just going to do a quick checkup. I actually went by myself just because I was like, this is going to be fine. I knew pretty quickly that something was off. I think I could still replay the entire like 1 minute of all of it happening. But yeah, it was a lot to process, and there's a lot of things that go through your brain really quickly. I now have to call my husband. I was frantically trying to get a hold of my mom too, and just trying to deliver that news while also trying to understand it myself. It was a lot.
But that journey of pain and loss wasn't over yet, right?
We got pregnant again, and we were very hopeful. My husband very much was like, we're going to stay positive. We're going to make it through. It's going to be okay. And then when we went to our first confirmation appointment, found out that that baby also did not have a heartbeat. And so probably never made it really past like 5 or 6 weeks. And so then we ended up having another DNC. And it was almost 6 months to the day after we lost Luke. Leaving a hospital after you deliver a baby and going home empty is just something I was not prepared for. You just feel physically empty. With Luke, we knew he was a boy. We had named him. We had heard heartbeats multiple times. And with our second loss, we had never heard a heartbeat. We didn't know the gender. And so, in a lot of ways, it was a little bit easier to process. But the darkness that followed afterwards was completely different because it did kind of lead to this level of, okay, are we going to have another successful pregnancy? I kind of thought that our second trimester miscarriage was maybe a fluke. And then now I had a first trimester miscarriage, and I was like, okay, are we going to be able to get to a third trimester? And what is this looking like for us? And we didn't know why this was happening. And so that was really difficult too, to just not really have any answers or solutions. We purely had to just hope that we would be able to get pregnant and have a successful pregnancy.
How did it affect your parenting of Keaton and, dealing with him? Did it have an impact on that?
I'm sure. I probably am kind of glad that I don't think he remembers any of it because it was all before he turned 3 even. I think that in a lot of ways, though, it made Matt and I truly cherish him so much more because we started to almost go, okay, is pregnancy really not in the cards for us? And is he like our little miracle child, that we finally got or something? And so, I don't know. He made things so easy though. He was really kind of just a light in the middle of darkness, and I think it also just helped us be like, okay, we've done this before, so hopefully we can do this again.
Well, I'll say y'all are persistent. Y'all
We
don't
are.
give up.
No, we don't. So pretty quickly after we had our second loss, we got pregnant again. And I up front told Matt, I can do this, but if we have another loss, like we're gonna have to tap out for a while because I'm kind of like a 3 strikes, you're done type person. But we did. We got pregnant again, and that was by far probably the most challenging thing I've ever gone through was that pregnancy. In terms of just not grief, obviously, because losing Luke was the most earth-shattering level of grief I've felt. But I just felt a complete loss of control in that pregnancy in terms of anxiety of what is this going to look like, and I just never really felt safe. And I fell into this too of like, okay, we know that 1 in 4 pregnancies end in a early miscarriage, and so I just was like, okay, let's get through our first trimester, and then it was kind of like checking off a list of, okay, we made it further than our last pregnancy. But I didn't feel safe in my second trimester because we had had that loss too. Um, and so I think it was a really dark time, and we had a lot of complications with his pregnancy as well. So that did not help at all. But yeah, we in September, by the grace of God, delivered a full term baby and another baby boy, Ryder. And yeah, those are my
What was
bookends.
that like? Was the joy higher than the relief, or was the relief higher than the joy?
Probably the relief.
You had this roller coaster of life and emotions and experiences. You had to go through some pretty dark times to get through to the other side, which ended up another miracle in your life. And it's also interesting. You're 10 years in labor and delivery, Baylor Scott and White, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
almost like that you're built for not only surviving this but helping others.
Yes. I had an injury whenever I was younger, and that's what got me into nursing. And I mean, I completely changed my path of what I thought I wanted to do with my life. And in nursing school, thought I was ready to drop out of nursing school. But thankfully, my mom told me no. And then landed in OB and just fell in love with it. And I just think back through all these different little things, even just my pregnancy complications that I had and then my losses, how if I hadn't have been a labor and delivery nurse, I don't know how I could have really survived a lot of that, or even just in the capacity that I did. So yeah, it was really kind of cool how all of it has been pieced together, and it's changed the way that I care for people and just look at it in an entirely different way.
What would you tell people that don't understand what it's like to have a pregnancy that doesn't go full term, or have a miscarriage, whatever it is? What do we need to understand about the community you represent?
Whether we mean for there to be or not, or even if you really know that it's not your fault, there's such a level of guilt because you just think, okay, my body is going to do this. This is what we're built for. And when it doesn't happen, it creates lots of questions and confusion and, yeah, just kind of guilt. But I think that the biggest thing that I've learned through all of this is the moment that you find out you're pregnant, you immediately start to dream. Immediately. Even if you're shocked a little scared, a lot of scared. I mean, whatever it might be, you just start dreaming of a baby and you start hoping for a baby and you start building memories that have never happened. But I mean, as soon as we found out that we were pregnant with both of our losses, I immediately started seeing Keaton as a big brother and having, thinking through, oh, okay, they're going to be this far apart in age. And you just have a lot of different things that you immediately start hoping for. You start laying in bed at night and talking through, okay, if it's a boy, what are we going to name him? If it's a girl, what are we going to name her? And then whenever everything changes, that disappears. But your hopes and your dreams that you had for a baby, they don't. But a lot of times those are only within yourself or maybe you and your partner, and trying to let other people into that is really difficult. But I think that if you know someone that's walking through miscarriage or loss, you might not have all of those like tangible memories, but it's still very similar in loss.
Well, loss is loss.
It is.
And we're humans, we always compare. Everybody compares. And we compare in loss too, and in grief. I mean, because, and that's natural, because it's my story, it's my life, it's your story, it's your life. You did something with your pain and your grief and your experience. You created a charitable organization.
Being a labor and delivery nurse, I saw the immediate care that we provide patients going through loss in the hospital. But then once I went through all of my 2 miscarriages, all the days that followed after were so dark, and I truly didn't know where to turn to. I had great people that were supporting me, but I didn't really feel like there was resources that I could really reach out to, or a community of people, or just someone that I could call on the other side and be like, what do I do here? And I have a friend that I went to college with. She lives in DFW, and she has a very similar story to me. And in the fall, she started walking through a 19-week loss. And we talked a lot because she knew about my loss with Luke. And she also just mirrored the same things that I did of, I don't know where to turn. I don't feel like there's resources. And after I had Luke, I had kind of looked at my husband and said, something has to change here. And I think I am going to try to help change it. And so when
Awesome.
she echoed, the same feelings, I was like, well, funny you should say that, but I think I'm going to start something. Do you want to do it with me? And she immediately was like, yes, I do. This is needed. And so we kind of dove head first and never looked back. So we created Cradle on the Rock. We love the name because it kind of symbolizes just the cradle, but we're really focusing on the rock of the Lord. We both very much are adamant that the Lord is who drew the nearest to us in our time of confusion and grief and darkness. And we want other people to know that, one, you're not alone. This is such a huge community that a lot of people don't talk about. But you're also not alone because the Lord draws near to those who are brokenhearted. And we want more people to know that you have somewhere that you can turn. But then we also want to provide resources for people and help them walk through loss.
I think it's beautiful that you're creating a community where people can feel like they belong and like their experience, their loss really does matter and have significance as much as anything else and anybody else. And so that's pretty amazing. They need to hear that.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to believe that it is.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, you're amazing.
Thank you.
I'm enjoying getting to know you, and I'm glad you joined us. And I think people are gonna see this, and you're probably gonna get some more calls coming your way.
That's all right.
But
That's what we're here for.
Need to know that you exist. So, well, Lauren, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right. I didn't do too many F's. Yeah, I wanted to. I was itching. I was twitching. You have a couple of minutes left? I'm going to get you another coffee. I want a hot one.